Hey there, welcome to the Healthy Enterprise. My guest today is Dr. Axa Yox. She's a background in biotechnology. She's an author, she's a speaker, and she's an entrepreneur. She's currently pursuing her passion for helping people with healthy food and healthy aging. I hope you enjoy. So, welcome, Axa. Thank you for joining this episode. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. And tell us where you are in your career and what you're up to right now.
I am in the paradise. I'm in Miami. What can be better? Especially when you find this edge, when your profession matches the passion and how you can help people. Especially when you find this unique voice, which is absolutely not highlighted anywhere. And I'm preparing myself because that's kind of where I am at the moment. I'm preparing my keynote speech for the I have two speeches coming up just only the 16th of April and 30th of April. So I'm in between to make to bring my voice out there. And also the part of the speech is kind of, I had the option to go with the very common topic like what to eat to be healthy, but I prefer to speak about the topic which is absolutely not highlighted, to explain from the perspective how we age. Then it makes more sense for people, because when you say you have to eat healthy, people say, okay, why I have to eat healthy to be
Right.
healthy? But when you explain the mechanism, it's so much different. It
Yeah.
just clicks with people. So that's where I am.
Very good. But that's not where you started, right? You started in biotechnology, right?
I started as human biologist, and then I did the specialty degree in biotechnology, and I did my PhD in microbiology with genetics. So I spent years to study the gut microbiota, and those are the kind of the topics where people are confused, because the biggest misconception that exists about the gut is like whatever we eat, microorganisms living there will digest that. So that's not what's happening in reality. And whenever you explain, people come to you, because if you are healthy, it helps with your productivity, it helps with your energy, your business, your relationship. It affects everything. And
Mm-hmm.
once you explain and you put the diet for the person, like the executive, properly, and they feel within just only 1 week how everything shifts, the brain fog goes away. Like they start the day and they are ready, like they don't feel that fatigue anymore. And they say we could never imagine that the simple diet can boost the productivity for 70%. Can you imagine? Like they sit in the meetings and all they can think is that brain fog when the meeting will finish. But now
Right.
they completely focus on what needs to be done. What is the next? I'm ready to go with this, and I do more during the day. What can be better than that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's where everyone wants to be. Everyone wants to have clarity of thought and be excited about their life and yet many people are not excited about that. So tell me, you came out of with your degree. What inspired you to go down this road to helping people with their diet and nutrition and everything else you're doing? And what else are you doing?
Actually, what helped me, that's a very great question, because failing. I I failed so bad. I failed so bad because
You're not failing, you're learning.
I love that. But I prefer to say failing. Why?
Yeah.
Because for me, failing, I believe it's how you justify the, like, what is the failing? For me, not trying. If you didn't try, that's where you fail. But if you try, you didn't match your goal, you can always adjust the goal. That's the misconception that exists. People normally, I fail. Okay, adjust the goal. You can put the bar a bit lower and then hit the target.
Hmm.
It's everything adjustable. So whatever you can play around and change, do that, flip it, tweak it, anything that works. Just don't sit on your idea. That's all that I learned through failing, really, because I was in science for 15 years and I was
Right.
very successful. And then I decided, I did 12 inventions. I'm ready for the real life. I quit and I failed so bad. Oh my goodness, I failed so bad. And
Okay,
then
give us one. Give us your one of your biggest failures, and how did you what did you learn from it, and what how did you correct it?
I invented the technology to clean water. So the
Oh,
technology is invented to remove the nutrients from water, but it is invented for the home aquariums. To help to save the drinking water. And when I started to talk to people, the potential customers, like we can save the water for the coming generation and all this crap that we all in people who love the nature have in our head, right? And unfortunately, people were like, it is included in my utility, so I don't care. And then you start to realize that the world is flipped and we have to accept that you cannot fight what's with the reality. It makes no sense. And then I started to talk to the investors. They were not interested because it's just only simply multi-million dollar company and blah blah, and they are searching for 10x, 100x, and a billion, potentially the company that can grow to billion. So what I learned is sometimes you have to go different way, make the money, and then reinvest in what you like, because water is my passion. I really love water, but because no one is interested in the technology simply because there are no money, so I decided I will go differently. I will start the production, because that's what we are working on, the production of the yogurt, plant-based yogurt. And if you follow me on social media, you will see that I always say that if there is one thing that you always have to have on your diet is yogurt, because it's full of probiotics, it's perfect prebiotic, and also it's full of proteins, and it's so light for you to eat. So when we start the production for the yogurt, whenever we start to generate the revenue, I can reinvest in my own company. And then you can go with what's your passion without the need to raise the capital. So even if you fail, there is still the way to do what you love. Don't give up on your dreams. Just try to change the target or the path that you can achieve. That don't change the goal, just change how you achieve that. That's the
right. Change
biggest
your
takeaway.
approach. Right.
Yes, change the approach.
Right. So, okay, hold on a second. So you created a plant-based yogurt.
Yes.
Are you still making it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see that anywhere on your stuff. Where does this come from? Where do people get it?
Oh no, it's not on in the supermarkets yet. It's
Oh,
only homemade at the moment.
oh. So there's a
Yes,
recipe
yes, that
for
there is
the
a
home.
recipe, and where I'm trying
Ah,
to see which one. That's why I prepare. I started before I created the product, and I was trying uh, to to bring it to the market and to convince people, oh, that's a
right,
perfect product
right,
and blah blah blah. Everything that the investor were telling from the very beginning when I tried to raise the capital: don't create the product, create the market, and then bring the product. Everything came to be absolutely true. Now I'm doing the opposite. I
right.
prepare, I talk about the yogurt every single time in my post. So I prepare the market whenever I have the product. There is already market to buy, because if you create the product and you bring on the shelves, you will lose the competition with the huge corporations which are
Right.
already established. So I learn from what the investors are telling. And if there is one advice that I would give anyone who is in the very beginning, don't even if you are not ready, go pitch your idea. Why? Because the feedback that you will get from the investors, especially when you are not ready, remember, never take it personally. uh, Remember everything they say, and by the time that you would come to understand what the business is, what is the flow of the cash flow, what is the revenue, what is the gross revenue, what is the difference, what is the liquid money, you have to understand the language for the money
Hmm.
to be able to run the company. And if somebody criticizes your idea, it's not that they want to insult you, they really want to help you. Listen to people who achieve success, they know more than you can ever imagine. Listen,
Hmm.
adjust, don't sit, fail, try to change something, tweak, talk to people, bring your product for free, give it away, give them to try, gather as much as possible the feedback, and try to bring on the market the complete product. Then people will buy and you will have perfect feedback. But before that, don't even try to bring on the product something which people don't know anything, and if you are short with the money, because you will fail. That's 100%. Don't do that to yourself.
Good advice. Very good
I
advice. Yeah,
learned
that's really
that
good. Yeah, you
it's like
learned.
I learned from my failures.
That's good. That's good.
It's good that I
S-
failed, right?
It's very good. Yeah, I don't think you wouldn't have, and it's not a very interesting story if you just succeeded and went all the way to the top, right? Nobody really wants to hear about that. They want to hear what happened along the way and the failures that we've had, and right. They want to hear how you came through and the advice that you have to give, and you wouldn't have any advice to give if you just succeeded all the time. That's
Oh
boring.
no, it's even more every time when I talk to people, and as a person who talks about eating healthy, I love cakes like nothing else in the
Oh
world.
yeah.
Like French fries, yes, please. If I could, I would eat donuts every single day. And that's what I did, by the way. Back in 2017, when I was visiting the US with the Fulbright Fellowship for the first time, I ate 12 donuts every single day. And do you want to know where the story ended? Besides gaining weight, obviously, I end up in the emergency room.
I bet, no doubt.
No doubt, right? Yeah. But
And where are you?
that's where you learn that no, the gut is true. We really
Mhm.
need to eat healthy, and
Yeah.
even knowledge and whatever you know sometimes can work against you, and it's okay. I learned my lesson. I know that I shouldn't do that anymore.
Right. Right.
So now I eat
Some
healthily.
somewhere along the way, someone told you it was okay to eat 12 donuts a day. Hey.
Myself. I convinced myself.
Now,
Let's try.
where were you before you ended up in the U.S.?
So I was in Europe since 2002. I
Hmm.
did my master's. I worked in Germany for many years, Austria, Switzerland. I traveled Europe like really a lot. I love to travel. If there is anything to do in the world, it's like even every time when I speak about longevity, I'm like, how is it possible that you don't want to add some extra 10 years, 15 years to your life to be able to travel? Because now we are all busy to make the money. We need some
Yeah.
time to travel, right? So
Travel. That's right.
try to add, try to to make sure that you still will have the time to travel, because there
Right.
is nothing better than to travel.
Right. And there's nothing better than to try food all over the world too, right? Because you got to
The
eat when you
donuts.
travel. Donuts.
We need
There's
to try.
donuts everywhere.
Yes, we need to make sure that the donuts in one country is not better than in the other country.
Have you ever had a Tim Hortons donut?
No, my favorite is the Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, well,
Though it's not very good to say, right?
you will have to come to Canada and try a Tim Hortons donut.
Done. Deal. I'm coming.
Now you know.
For the
why.
donuts, I'm coming.
We got donuts, baby. uh, okay, so now it looks like, are you? Tell me about what you're planning, what you're doing right now. So you're marketing. You've got a few things going on. I see you've got X Theory, which is you were in marketing for a while. That was a marketing agency that you owned, right? Is that correct? And
Yes,
you're
that's correct.
working with Brains Magazine as a writer.
Yes.
Okay. And then I also saw you had a podcast.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you've done a online cookbook,
Oh,
and
yes, I
you
did.
and yeah, and you've written a book.
Yes.
You've been very busy. So I want to tell me about, so what you're doing right now. Like, it seems to me, and now I also heard that you're going out and doing speaking engagements. So it sounds to me like you are now starting to brand you, and you are now the product that you're branding and marketing. Is that correct?
That's correct. Because I cracked this code for the personal branding. It sounds like very confusing in the very beginning because you think, what is the personal branding? And when I
Right.
saw what is by following for more than 2 years the most successful people, then you realize what does that mean, the personal branding. Because when you create that trust with people and you show the expertise, like I can speak about, okay, eat this, you would be healthy. I don't want to do that because that's I don't want to say that it's too easy, but the market is too saturated for that. So to
Right.
find your own voice, first of all, it makes no sense for me. And the second, what I know, people need more because when you explain why you have to eat healthy, what is behind, it makes more sense. If I tell you 1 plus 1 is like, oh, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's three, sometimes it's four, you would be confused. Why? Because that's exactly how the healthy food is explained. Some people say go with the protein powder, but not many people say that the protein powder is the processed food. Some say eat only whole food, though everybody says eat whole food. Some, they love to go with the supplements. I don't like to recommend the supplements, but people are confused. And it is normal. If somebody would come and confuse me about the money, I would be like, that's your profession. You have to guide me. You should not
Mm-hmm.
confuse people. And that's what I was following for the creator for the last 2 years. And I realized how confusing is the information, even for me. I am kind of the professional, and I still needed the time to realize where is the information which is correct from the science perspective, because I spent 15 years in science, so I know how to even analyze the scientific paper and to understand, is this information correct, is this beneficial, or it is not. And once you know the mechanism, like once, because that's what I prepare for the speech, I explain the mechanism of how we age from in such a simple way that people understand, and then they realize why you have to eat healthy, because there is a formula for the longevity. It's not like longevity and that's it. The formula for the longevity has four components, and one of them is healthy diet. And
Right.
healthy diet is not the first because it's the topic that I speak. It's scientists proved how food affects our body. If you don't have enough oxygen in your body, the same one molecule of glucose will will be processed anaerobically, so without the oxygen, and it will produce acid, lactic acid. And whenever the pH of our body drops down, it completely disrupts the entire function of our body. How? So if I stop there, I say it completely disrupt the function of your body. You would be confused. It's too generic.
Right.
But if I tell you that what will happen, it affects the function of your enzymes, and enzymes are the basic of our life. Everything is between everything that happens in our body, there is particular enzyme. And when you know the answer, the acid affects the enzymes, then you, oh, okay, that makes sense.
That
When
makes sense. Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense, and then people follow. And once you start to
And
explain,
if you can explain what causes that the change in the acidic level, right?
exactly. When you explain the mechanism behind how it happens, then people are not confused. Because if somebody says, cut the sugar, okay, why? Why I have to cut the sugar? But when you say sugar uses the oxygen in your body, and whenever there is a shortage of the oxygen, the same sugar will convert into the acid, then there
Right.
is the explanation behind that. Then
Right.
you give the person not the option just only cut the sugar, you give the explanation, and then person has the option to
Right.
decide, okay, oh, that's why I need to cut, not because she wants me to cut,
Right.
but because there is a mechanism, and she understand, by the way. Because if you just say the generic information like, oh, don't do this, don't do this, people would not trust you with any information that you give to them. But
No.
when you
No. They,
explain the mechanism behind, people start to understand that there is a level, like you understand your topic. The same
mhm.
is with any profession. If somebody would come and explain you the finances or the AI only with
Right.
ChatGPT, you would be like, okay, there are so many options with AI. Why only ChatGPT? You cannot call yourself expert. Then call yourself expert of ChatGPT. Then I would
Right.
understand that you are expert on that particular
A
topic, and that's
particular
all.
subject. Yeah.
Yes. So narrow down the niche, explain what is your proficiency. Don't make it too generic because people don't like it. And
hmm
if there is one thing which is missing right now in the social media, and it is so much true, there is too much noise and there is no wisdom. That's why
Right.
people are confused. They don't know whom to trust. And
That's right.
if you can trust with the business, because even if somebody screw up with the business, you can still correct. But with the, whenever it comes to health, I would never go to the doctor who cannot diagnose me. Do you know how many times I go to the doctor and we sit together and we diagnose myself? Would I ever go to that doctor? No, I would be like, the doctor doesn't know. I sit with them and I am like, no, but that's not that way. That it's like I'm diagnosing myself and I help them to prescribe me any, if there is any need for the medication. And whenever they go with the antibiotics, I'm like, I'm not going to take the antibiotics. If I'm not dying, just don't prescribe. I'm not taking that. So if the person is not professional and you have particular level and you understand that the person doesn't meet your needs, then you would be skeptical about other people
hmm
as well. And
hmm
this is the gap that exists at the moment. So there is a lot of noise and people are craving the wisdom, and let's
Right.
bring the wisdom even in the very simple way so people understand, but let's give it to them.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think you said it. It's like if somebody has an issue, like, oh, they go straight to Dr. Google and they go, why do I have heartburn? Right. And Dr. Google will deliver all kinds of theories, every theory you can imagine out there. But actually, that's not true. Chat will actually provide you with a concentrated collection of theories, but Dr. Google will only give you the theories that someone paid them to deliver.
You see, that's where the, it's like the black hole.
Yeah.
So the information is sucked inside, and whatever is true, it's hard to understand for the person who doesn't have the simple expertise. And it's normal. If I need the information in finances, I would never claim myself to be an expert. I would be
Right.
like, I'm the dumbest person whenever it comes to the money, and I would go to the professional, though I have some information, but I would never pretend that, oh, I'm the professional, you cannot tell me. No, It's the other way around. I came to you, please help me. So if you come to me, I have to show my expertise. It's not that you
Hmm.
have to trust me simply because I put the labels or the whatever degree I have. Degree doesn't give you the knowledge. No, that's not true. And so
Right.
many people, I would see that they don't have any degree, but they are full of knowledge because they spend
Hmm.
their time to read the books and
Right.
to crave and to understand what is the topic, why it it's this way and not the other way.
Right. Right. There are so many angles and perspectives and theories, and I think that any particular problem, health wise, symptom wise, you could probably ask 10 different people and get 10 different potential theories, right? And it's and because there's no and really I'm wondering, is there's no, we're all so different. I mean, genetically every one of us is very unique, and so is there really one fix for all of us, or is one fix going to work better for me than it does for you, because of our slightly different combination of genetic information? So is that complex?
Um, it's not hard to answer the question. It's hard because this episode is going to be public, so I have to be a little bit more cautious with the
Okay.
advice that I give, obviously. But I would say the nature didn't create us different. It's slight differentiation. It and mostly this is something that we are missing. So you might have the genes, but their expression or the mutation depends directly on the environment of your cells. So if
Right.
your
Okay.
cells have acidic environment, Otto Warburg, he got the Nobel Prize in 1931 when he discovered the mechanism how the cancer cells the acidic environment triggers the development of the cancer cells. And if the normal cells they don't survive or they don't perform their function perfectly in the acidic environment, cancer cells they thrive in the acidic environment. It's the
Mm.
other way
Hmm.
around. So
Right.
the nature didn't create us different. It's just only simply depending on what is the environment that you grow up in. So depending on the hormones which start the tweak of the biochemistry inside
Right.
you, and depending on the diet, that's the how you uh, the disease develops from generation to generation. So there is no generational disease. It's
Mm.
nonsense. There is no
Right.
such thing that every person can have the cancer genes. Every person can have,
Right.
or we all the time we
The
develop the
genetic
cancer.
the potential is there for
The
everybody, right?
potential is there
Right.
for nearly everyone. But what
So
you
depending on
eat,
my environment where I lived, whether it's the air, the water, my emotional state, my family life, all those things. Is that what you're saying? Is that my environment is conducive to my
yeah.
outcome, as your environment is conducive to your
Yes,
outcome?
there
Okay,
is
I
there is
understand.
even fancy word for that, epigenetics. So
Epigenetics,
yes,
yes, right.
epigenetics. It's but once you understand that's the beauty of the like the formula for longevity.
Longevity.
It's it's controllable, and that's the beauty of that. Because
Yeah.
if somebody would tell you like your parents lived till this age, so that's the list for the diseases that you will have, we were conditioned that
Condition.
this is
Yes.
this is the list for the diseases that I have to have. So once you start to develop them, you are like, oh yes, because my parents had, so I have to have, without realizing it's not the parents. You
Right.
ate the same food,
Right. Right.
you were in the same environment,
House.
you
Right. Yeah.
experienced the same emotions, and that's the base which creates the biochemistry in your body, and it starts to develop into the same disease. That's it, period.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But the best thing is we can't control it. When you start to understand that the cortisol, which is the stress hormone, it down regulates insulin, which is responsible for the digestion of the glucose. Because insulin, what is the insulin? Is the hormone which sits on the membrane of our cells. That's something that people don't know. Okay, insulin helps
Right.
to digest the glucose. How? So insulin is the hormone. It binds to the membrane, the proteins of the membrane, and it opens up the membrane, because membrane, the cell membrane, it doesn't have the holes. How the nutrients go in is through the channels. So it opens up the channel, and then the glucose can go inside our cells and be digested, be processed inside our cells. So there are two types of the digestion for the processing of the glucose. If there is oxygen, then it would be complete digestion for the glucose, and we will produce per molecule of glucose 16 times more energy molecules, the same one molecule of glucose. While if there is no oxygen, it would be anaerobic fermentation. We will produce only two molecules of energy, and we will produce lactic acid. So
Hmm.
those are the tiny tweaks when you realize why you have to do the physical activities outdoor, because we need the oxygen. The oxygen doesn't appear from nowhere. We need to be outdoor. We need to be under the sun. We need to stop eating the processed. So those are the tiny tweaks that you need to do, and we need to eliminate the sugar. And if there is one, the best, like the best advice, aside, like you have to be outdoor to to have the access to the oxygen, is the intermittent fasting. Why? Because you create this gap between your meals, and eliminate the snacking forever. Forget about the snacking. Even if it is the healthy snacking, add to your meal. Why?
Right. Yeah.
Because the most important is not to snack in between, is to create this gap so your cells have the time to digest what you already had during your
Hmm.
previous meal. And then after the digestion, the cell has to restore the source of the oxygen. Then the cell can digest the next food properly. But if you
Right.
keep giving something all the time, what do you think the cell will do? It doesn't have. So the short anaerobic fermentation for the glucose takes minutes, while the aerobic takes hours. So if you give the food all the time to your cell, the cell will not go, oh, I'm lazy today, I will do the long cycle. No, the cell doesn't have the brain. The cell does what happens in your body. So if you keep giving the food all the time, it will flip to the anaerobic, which takes minutes, because the food keeps coming and the cells need to digest it.
Right.
Then they store it, but first they need to digest it. And
Right.
when there is excessive food, they start to store as the fat. But that's, if there is one thing, if there is no like the health condition or the medical prescription not to, because if you have the medical condition, then you cannot fast in between, like intermittent fasting. But if
Right.
there is
Right. Right.
one, the best advice that any person can ever give is to remove snacking. Whether it's the best, the most healthy snack, it doesn't matter. Add to your meal.
Yeah, it's got
Period.
because that has some, it all has something to do with blood glucose levels, right? I actually I started fasting a couple of years ago. I was experiencing um, heartburn, a lot of
Okay.
indigestion and heartburn, and I don't know. I couldn't nail it down to any particular food. It just I don't know. It just seemed to happen all the time. And then I just was listening to an audio book on intermittent fasting, and I started. I was driving home from somewhere. I had a 4 hour drive, and I listened to the whole audio book, and I started fasting like during the drive. I just stopped eating, and I just decided that I was going to do that, and I did that. For for the last 2 years, I've been doing that, and but that my heartburn went away in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you would go to the doctor, they would prescribe you the
Well,
medication. And
yeah, my doctor said, you can control this with diet. He said, try and watch your high acid foods, tomatoes, things like that. And he said, I'm going to put you on some medication if it gets too unbearable. He goes, because I don't want you to damage your esophagus. So he said, see if you can manage it. And then that was when I looked into that. And yeah, it worked. I mean, after 3 weeks, I was not experiencing it every day. It started to subside. It was subsiding, and then after probably another month or two, it was gone. And I've had very rare moments of it since, but it really helped me in that
it's
regard. But I
interesting. The acidic reflex is caused by the sugar, like
mm-hmm.
period. And whenever the
Well, I probably started my day with sugar. Right. So I would fast from and then I would snack after supper. So I stopped snacking because I started fasting at like 7 o'clock at night. And then I would go through and I wouldn't have breakfast, which would normally have been probably something like toast and coffee and with some sugar of some sort, a jam or something like that, or fruit or something. But now I was going on until like noon and I was eating lunch, but having making some better choices at lunch too. But there was that big window between 7 p.m. and 11 the next day where I didn't actually eat. And so what you're saying maybe explains that.
Yes, I eat twice a day. So I have my
Yeah.
breakfast, I have my lunch. The last would be around 3 p.m., depending on how busy I am. Rarely, whenever I go out, obviously you have to eat something. But when
Yes.
I know that I need to go somewhere in the evening, then I will skip the lunch. So I will try to keep this 2 time meal per day. And the bigger the gap between the meals, that's the secret. The bigger the gap, you give your cells the time to not
Mm-hmm.
only digest what you already ate, but also to recover from the food. Like if you had the meal, are you able to eat the next meal? No. The same is with our cells, but we forget that the cells, it takes time for our gut to digest everything.
Right.
Then it goes through the blood to our cells, and then they start to digest. So within just only 1 hour or 2 hours, the cells start to digest what we ate, like process our food, and we give another portion. We
Right.
snack. Okay, yeah,
Right.
it's just only
That's because
the
we're always
almond.
looking for personal gratification and instant satisfaction. It's like, oh, I want to eat that, but we don't know that it still keeps going on under our, and in there in our subconscious or in
Yeah.
we're not conscious of what's going on inside our bodies because it's automated. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
we're
Wow.
just sold all the theories because
Yeah.
like every time when I go to the supermarket and there is a offer, like there is a deal, buy one get one for free, and it is all the time the bread. Can you,
Mm-hmm.
who can explain me how is it possible to make the package for the bread to cost $5 and every time you get the second for free? Like how is it, what that bread is made of?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I think that the big corporation, they get the support because they need to feed us to to sickness because it's
Yes.
easier
I
to
think there's a couple of movies
control.
about that.
I know
The sick
that's why
the
people
sickness
start.
industry, I think it's called the sickness industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's whatever they produce, it doesn't mean that we need to consume that. Be
Right.
mindful, read the label, and you would be amazed when you start to read the label. The label, it tells that the bread is made from the whole grain, and then you see that the whole grain was processed, and this is how the bread is made. And then you are like, but the information on the other side is completely different. We need to learn to read the labels. And the
Right.
biggest misconception that exists, when people read organic or bio, they think that there is no GMO, and I'm like, no. Organic, it means completely different. It is
Mm-hmm.
grown without using particular, by the way, chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them. This is one point. And the second is, nearly there is no organic soil in the world anymore. So whatever we eat is more or less close to be clean. This is, and there is another point. Depending on the standard, whatever is organic in the US, it might be not even fit under the regular label in the country which has higher standards. I'm
Right.
serious.
Right.
So if you go from one country to another, that's why the quality
The
of the food
qualities, it
is
changes.
so different.
Mm.
Whatever is organic for the US, it might not even fit for the shelf in Europe, because Europe has
Right.
higher standard. And the
Standards.
highest standard is for New Zealand. The second comes Australia. They have the highest standard for
Is that right,
anything
eh?
in the world. Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, New Zealand
Interesting.
and Australia. New
Oh,
Zealand
wow.
is the top for anything. They have the highest standard by law.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Oxa, I need to know, how are you how are you liking being branding yourself? Like, now that you're kind of branding yourself as the expert, and you've got these you're out to help people with their health, and through food, and understanding more about their, their acidic levels, and how that's impacting them on a day-to-day basis. So you're going out now. This is your business. You're promoting and branding yourself, right?
Yeah.
So are you enjoying that process? Is it challenging? What do you find uh, difficult about that?
Difficult is to work with people because they still have the eating habits, and to hold their hand and to explain what that the eating is still the habit, and they need somehow to divorce and to develop, and the mindset is the first that you need to work with. But whenever you have the person coming from the emergency room and you help them, and the gratitude that comes from people who were never, they were not helped even by the doctors, and then they see the results simply because you not only explain what's happening to them, but whenever they are out of the emergency room, you have to help them right away. You don't have the time to explain them so many things. You have to trust me, and normally the person who comes from the emergency room, they have to trust you.
Right, right.
But the gratitude that comes from people who were in the hell and then you help them, that's what pays me back. I'm I call that I'm uh, building my personal brand. But
Yeah.
I would say, when I heard this for the first time from the other very successful people, I was like, that sounds so fake. But now, when they say the gratitude from people and being able
Mm.
to help them,
Hmm.
that's the feeling that I want to like feel. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm there at the moment, and that's the best to be. When somebody asks me the question, I never say, oh, I'm selling that. I just answer the questions. I
Hmm.
never keep the information to myself. You want to know whether this is good to eat or no, I'll answer all the questions, because I don't keep the information. I prefer people to come for the execution, because
Hmm.
that's where you get the gratitude, when people
Hmm.
see the results, not when you say, oh, don't eat this, don't eat that. No, I don't do that. I help people when they come for the execution, when you hold their
Right.
hand, when they are in the hard situation, and when they tried nearly everything and nothing helped them, and they call you in 1 week already, they feel the result, they feel the difference, and they start to cry. That's when you feel that
Hmm.
I achieved that. And I'm not doing it for my name. I don't care anyone
No.
knows. I really feel that inside of me, like when somebody is out of the the health issue that they have. And then you feel like, okay, I spent my life not for like for there is a purpose behind, and I
Yeah,
found
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
That's great. And how do people find you? Like, what do you find is the most effective way for getting your message out, and how do people find you mostly?
I am very active on LinkedIn, so they can approach. At the moment, I do the free 15 minutes call just to review the breakfast that people eat, and unknowingly they just put some products which are not very healthy. So we remove that, we clean the recipe, and they stick just only, mostly they have 2 or 3 recipes, because breakfast is something that you have to do really very fast. And this
Yeah.
is something else that whenever you know a little bit about the gut microbiota, so how it works, that helps a lot. So yeah, they can reach me at the moment. Again, I'm doing for free the call. They can hop up, and also I give away the book with the breakfast.
The
Uh,
breakfast book. Yeah,
yeah, the
that's great. Yeah.
breakfast book.
So is
Yeah,
that LinkedIn? You like that tool? That seems to be a very effective tool for you.
yeah.
Well,
The
it's a platform for professionals, so I mean, you can share your expertise, which is exactly what it's supposed to do, right? For that.
yeah.
And what's the future? What does growth look like for you? Where do you want this empire of yours to be in the next
Oh,
2 to 5 years?
I love that. Um, I want to host my own seminars, like when people come and they are able to listen, ask the question, not to listen, because the purpose is not to tell the information, but to show that it is possible. I was eating 12 donuts every single day. I was in the emergency room.
I know.
I was in the emergency room. So it's possible. And uh, there is there is no end unless you decide that this is the end.
Right.
Whenever you, the author for the book, One Answer for the Cancer, he had the cancer for the fourth stage, for the pancreatic gland, and there is no cure for that. He
No.
cured himself, and he published the book, and he helped so many people. So there is always answer for anything, and the answer is to stabilize your inner biochemistry, because
Mm.
that's what disrupt the function of the cells. And once the cells turn into something which is not very beneficial for you, they just start to spread that, and then even then you can reverse. So there is no end unless you decide that this is the end. Stick to the healthy diet, learn about the longevity formula, follow it, be outdoor as much as is possible under the sun, do the gym, don't skip it. No one can skip it. This is a must. And then just enjoy the life, reduce the stress.
How do our emotional state, or our state of stress, or our state of survival that we live in, what do you do to alleviate that?
Oh, I practice the breathing technique,
The
because
breathing techniques.
yes. So especially when you know the mechanism, also how the hemoglobin releases the oxygen, that's when you understand, oh, the breathing technique is not only the fancy word. There is a science behind that. There, I love to say, there is a nature behind that, because
Right.
science is what like
The
studies the
nature of
nature.
science.
It's nature of science. So there is a nature behind any mechanism that exists in our body. So the breathing technique, when you have to inhale and keep your breath and then exhale, there is a nature behind it. There is a mechanism. So that what helps me to release the stress, like the fastest, the 10 seconds, the first I don't react. And then I just keep reminding myself, do you remember before it was worse and you managed that? I always remember something which was extremely bad in my life, and I just start to compare, and I
Mm.
always remind myself, there was worse situation and you managed it. You are
Mm.
going to forget about this situation within how many days? weeks, months, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You already have been there and you manage. This is going to pass again. Don't make it worse. So that's my line that I just draw. It was worse. Now you have the option to make it worse, to stay where you are, or just to step a little bit, to level up, and then to look back and smile. That's
See,
it.
now you need an
Smile.
ebook. Now you need an ebook for that.
Yes.
Axa's techniques for
To release that.
mindfulness. Yes.
Yes. Right? That's
But you already have another book. It's called the
one promise.
Master the Art of Despites,
Oh,
right?
I love that. I actually changed the title for the book. Now
You
it's
did.
called One Promise because people
Oh,
thought
I see. Okay, I saw that
that,
on your
yeah,
LinkedIn page. It's called One Promise now.
yeah,
Okay.
because people, I actually changed it twice because people assumed what is inside the book. And I
Right.
was like, that's so not how it is. So before it was Master the Art of Despite, then I tweaked it to stop calling it a comfort zone. And every single person I would talk about the book, they were like, I know what is inside the book. And I was like, how do you even know from the title? No, it's so not, it doesn't overlap. So the main idea behind the book is if you try to be comfortable, to be uncomfortable, you will sabotage yourself. The which is exactly what's happening with 80% of people. Because when what is the word that you convince yourself, like what, how do you associate yourself with the comfort? If you are in your comfort zone and you are unhappy, unhealthy, and unfulfilled, and you call the zone to be a comfort zone, your brain decodes that information as being unhealthy, unhappy, and unfulfilled is comfort for you.
Right.
So this is comfort. You are already unhappy. This is how your brain decodes the information. And now you convince your brain, oh, now we need to be uncomfortable. Your brain would be like, are you kidding me?
Right. That's
I'll
not
answer.
happening.
That's not happening. And I'll give you the answer with the finger. And it's it's pretty much what's happening. 80% of people stay in their comfort zone. 80%, it's a huge number. So there is an answer itself behind that.
Yeah.
So unless you make where you are to be so uncomfortable, you will never move from there. So that's what you need to tweak. It's not to be comfortable to be uncomfortable. It's to be uncomfortable to stay comfortable. That's when you will move.
Right.
Because if you are comfortable to be where you are, you will never move. If you are so uncomfortable to stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will move. That's what you need to tweak. It's not about be comfortable to be uncomfortable. It's to be uncomfortable to stay comfortable. That's when you will change your life.
And that's the promise that
That's
chose you.
the promise is
The promise that chose you, right?
the promise is so what's behind, like what is described in the book. When I was facing the hardship in my life, I couldn't let it go, and I was confused, like why let it go helps millions of people and it does, it's so ineffective for me. And when I started this path of transformation and self-analysis, I found the answer and I let it go in 1 second. So there was a promise that I gave to myself when I was a child. It's with every person. And you have to find what is the promise. And if you think about your promise right now, that's not the promise. It's hidden in your subconscious because you gave that promise when you were a child and your conscious was not mature enough. So the memory was not still there. But because of the emotional state, which was at the peak, you still gave through your biochemistry the promise, and you unconsciously, because you don't realize what promise you gave to yourself, so you follow through the life to repeat that the situation or whatever the promise is about, to follow that promise. Everything you do in your life is based on one promise that you gave to yourself. And once you find that promise, everything changes. Why? Because we follow the need to justify what we promised. We see the world through that lens, and we are looking for this exact same environment or the circumstances to relive that situation, and to how to say it, not to relive the situation, and to prove that the promise that you gave to yourself is possible. Every person might have different promise, and if anyone would tell me, like, whenever it comes to the relationship, why people who they enter the challenging relationship, they always enter the same challenging relationship, not different.
Right.
It is explained like you are familiar. What's familiar? What are you familiar with? Why the person
your environment?
No. There is a promise. That's what you have to find. There is a promise that you gave to yourself, and you just go through the life and you recreate the same conditions, so you can prove your promise. And you have to find what is your promise. Before you find your promise, you will repeat the same mistakes over again. So that's what the book describes, because it goes through explaining how being attached to one of your peers or the parents flip the reality for you. And because you were a child, you couldn't see what's real, what's unreal, and where is the truth, because you cannot analyze, and you need to solve the challenge that you are in. So that's how your brain plays with you, because we have subconscious and we have conscious, and the conscious is not mature enough to analyze. And then that's why when we are adults, we still cannot justify where is the reality, where is not reality, because we didn't manage to take under the control our subconscious. Because the subconscious, unless you start to analyze and understand where the information comes from, is it from subconscious or it is from conscious? If it comes from subconscious and you take it that it comes from the conscious, and you think that it is your decision, you will repeat the same mistake over and over again, thinking that that's the reality, while your subconscious creates your reality, and it dictates you to repeat the same mistake, because that's when you repeat the same biochemistry. But it is quite mixed with the past, the conscious, subconscious. And once you start to analyze and to put in perspective, and you assemble the puzzle correctly, and you learn how to read the puzzle, that's when everything changes. Before, you would be quite confused in life.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to get the book. I'll get the book. I'll read the book. We'll come back. We can talk about the book.
Absolutely. And if you want, because I give, in exchange for the review, I actually give the audio book for free, just only because I need people to write the review.
Sounds great. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure you've given other entrepreneurs out there who are looking to promote their own personal brand something to think about, and some great advice along the way. So thank you again, Axa, for joining me today.
Thanks for hosting me.
Well, that was a fun conversation. I really enjoyed talking to Axa. She's definitely very passionate about helping people with teaching them about healthy food and healthy aging. She's got a ton of credibility behind her. She's extremely smart. She knows her stuff. She's an entrepreneur, and I think the advice she provided was extremely valuable. Anybody who has an idea, they need to pitch it to somebody who's been down that road, investors, other entrepreneurs, and get the feedback, get the valuable criticism. Try not to take it personal, as hard as that might be. But that information will help you improve your development of your idea. If you want to know more about Axa or read her book, One Promise, it's available on Amazon. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening.